Next question is a bankruptcy question, and it's a good one. And it's something as another hot issue, especially hot in Florida because, well, let's get to the question. The question is, what is a Chapter 20 bankruptcy? There's no such thing as a Chapter 20 in the bankruptcy code. What it is a Chapter 13 followed by a Chapter 7, Chapter 7 followed by a Chapter 13. In other words, the person files Chapter 7 first, goes through the process, gets a Chapter 7 discharge. Then they file a Chapter 13 to strip off the second mortgage. Here's the history of the case law in Florida, probably about the last year. No, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no, or something to that effect. But the bottom line is we have some judges who say, no, you can't do this. The first two, I believe in Florida, were the first Southern District judges who said, no, you can't do that. Then there was an Eighth Circuit BAP opinion as a bankruptcy appellate panel, and it was authored by Judge Schirmer. Now, interestingly, Judge Schirmer sits in St. Louis, but he's a visiting judge to Southwest Florida. After he wrote the opinion for the Eighth Circuit bankruptcy appellate panel and said, yes, you can do a Chapter 20, Chapter 7 discharge, strip off the second mortgage. Then he comes to Southwest Florida. Now, I practice in front of Judge Schirmer, and I'm thinking to myself, now, wait a minute. If these two judges said no, and you're a visiting judge and you say, yeah, that would make for some interesting case law. Then we got some rulings out of Tampa and Orlando, and then the most recent ruling we have, if I'm not mistaken, is out of, the most recent ruling we have is out of Jacksonville, where Judge Glenn said, yes, you can do a Chapter 20. Wow. So all this means what? Nothing. I haven't heard anything out of the Southern District that says you can based upon these other rulings. Judge Williamson wrote a wonderful opinion on Chapter 20s, but we'll see where it goes because one of them is going to go up into the 11th or to a district court in the Middle District, and then ultimately maybe it'll go up to the 11th Circuit to see where the 11th Circuit stands on it. And I don't know if any of that has been appealed right now. Heard rumors that one of them is going to get appealed up, and we'll see where it goes. But so right now, what I'm saying is if I have to bring one of my clients into a 7 to a 13 to strip a second mortgage, and it's in front of Judge Schirmer, I think I got a pretty good chance of having that done. If it's not in front of Judge Schirmer, it's in front of Judge Hopkins, well, we don't know where Judge Hopkins stands on the issue, so we'll have to wait and find out. So yeah, that's a Chapter 20 in a nutshell. And again, when we're talking about stripping second mortgages, let me just kind of segue back into that. What are we really doing? Well, you think about it, in a Chapter 7, both mortgages on the house are going to get discharged. Doesn't mean the debt is gone, it just means the creditor can't collect it. So let's say, for example, I have a house, and the house is worth $100,000, I owe $150,000 on the first mortgage, and I owe $50,000 on the second mortgage. Well, obviously the second mortgage, meaning $50,000, has no equity in the house. The house is worth less than the first, then I'm putting an extra $50,000 on top of that. That mortgage in a Chapter 7 gets discharged, meaning the debt is gone, but the lien survives the bankruptcy. The only way you can strip a second mortgage traditionally is by filing a Chapter 13 bankruptcy, staying in the bankruptcy 3 to 5 years, and then asking the judge to remove the lien when you get your discharge in 3 years. But in this case, let's say, for example, the house is so underwater and the person can't afford or isn't qualified or eligible for a Chapter 13 when they first file, they do a Chapter 7 first. Well, the debt's still gone, there's no debt, but they still got that lien on there. Then they file a Chapter 13 and ask the court to remove the lien. So that's a Chapter 20 in a nutshell. The bottom line is it's creative lawyering for people who want to save their homes. And I get that. I mean, I understand that, and that's what I do for a living. So I appreciate the question, and I'm glad that, this makes me feel good that when I know people are watching, they're reading the news, they're reading the blogs, and they're saying, hey, what is this, Carmen? Explain this to me because this may be something that could help me, it could help a friend, or it may be able to help somebody else. And if I don't know about it, I'm not going to talk about it on the show because you're talking about some very complicated issues under the bankruptcy code. But at the same point in time, when you boil it all down, for the consumer, if you know somebody who's in that position, they may want to go see an attorney and talk about it and say, hey, well, what can I do to help myself or what can I do to help my friend here?